traders at UBA say investors are taking position ahead of next week's Monday's 360 billion Naira bond auction, which is expected to keep the market quiet. Kenneth Onuoha, team member, Assets and Liabilities at UBA, joins me now for more market updates. Kenneth, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Esther.
I'll bring us up to speed on market trading action so far today, starting with the bond market.
Okay. Like you rightly pointed out, investors are taking position, favorably positioned in respect of in anticipation of the bond auction that is to happen on Monday. 360 billion is supposed to be up on offer. We expect that in line with the trend from the NTB auction that we've seen, that it is expected to be oversubscribed as well. We expect that, of course, the rates, remember that the last bond auction, the stop rates printed at about 18%. We do expect that the rates, our guidance for this bond auction is that the rates would obviously hover around similar levels. So far, trading activities have been quite calm. Of course, in anticipation of the auction, we have just seen minimal trades happen around the 2053 bonds. That's where the interest have been, and then we had very, of course, limited offer to match the interest that have been shown, the buy interest that have been shown on the 2053 bonds. Okay, go ahead, please.
It's quite interesting because for a while we've talked about how, or I've seen how this interest in the 2053 has persisted, and now there are limited offers to match. I mean, how does this play out? How does it work? At what point could this interest possibly wane, or just help us understand the dynamics around this?
Oh, so typically, if the expectation is, well, now that there's a bond auction coming in, of course, there's a cautious approach to the trading. Everybody is waiting to see where the stop rates will print at. I mean, if you can get the bond at a favorable yield on the prime from the bond auction, and of course, it's better for you to key into the bond auction as opposed to buying from the secondary market. That explains why the interest actually wins.
There's also interest on the December 2024 or 5th December 2024 bond. Could you tell us about that?
Oh, similar modalities operates there as well, of course. So we see, but you do realize that the on-the-run bonds are the ones that are supposed to be up on offer at the bond auction on Monday, which is the 2029s, the 2033s, the 2038, and the 2053 bonds. So typically, that's where the interest will play out more significantly.
Now, I know that. I mean, just looking back on the year, I mean, where. And I know that for investors, it hasn't, I mean, just looking at where inflation is, it's still a negative return environment. But I mean, overall, how would you describe the experience of investors? For institutional investors like the PFAs, obviously, there's limited options outside of the equities markets, and this is the market that they're left with. But with where inflation is and how they're thinking about 2024, going into 2024, and what the projections or forecast for inflation is, how are they thinking about their investments going forward, one, and two, how you would describe this year for investors?
Oh, well, so let's not forget that, like you rightly pointed out, aside the equity markets, the next best, I mean, what you're sure that will guarantee you high return on your investments will naturally be the fixed income space, particularly the bonds. 2053s, like I rightly said, printed at 18%, very few investments will give you that level of return. So as opposed to when compared or when placed side by side with the inflation figures, which is currently at 27.33, it is a far cry from where you want to be, but then again, it is better than what most of the investment opportunities will give you. So for investors, yes, there is hope. There is the what's the word? The general outlook would be the fact that investors are hoping that the inflation rates will come down, then and only then can they get true return on their investments.
All right, finally, before I let you go, dollar. Where's the dollar today against the Naira, or the Naira against the dollar?
It closed at 843.07 as at yesterday, the NAFEM rates. Of course, the volatility still exists. We've seen that this week trades, we've had over 400 and something trades, 400 something million trades recorded this week alone. Still not, so of course, the demands will still continue to outweigh the supply. But when you compare that with where we were at the beginning of the week started with the dollar at 837, it rose to 951. at the close of business on Wednesday, only for yesterday to close at 843.07. So it's clearly the Naira strengthened over the dollar day on day, but when you compare it from the beginning of the week, it depreciated. But the outlook again...
Okay, go ahead, finish.
The outlook again would be that we expect that the rates would pick up in the coming weeks, and hopefully we expect to see that, yes.
All right, Kenneth, thank you for talking to us today. Appreciate your time on the show. Kenneth Onuoha, team member, Assets and Liabilities at UBA.